3:30, and then we have to be straight out for the next thing. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Okay. Hello, welcome back to the Hub Culture Davos Summer Campus here in Davos, Switzerland. We're now going into the world of your ears, the world of audio, the future of spatial audio, for a conversation that's actually increasingly important as we think about the growth of the metaverse. So joining us for this conversation are one of our Icehouse partners, Unity, Mr. Tim Degraye, who's the chairman and founder, and Mr. Olivier, actually Professor Olivier Oullier, who's the founder of Inclusive Brains. Now these are two really new, exciting companies that are at the cutting edge of our ears. So let's start with a conversation about what you guys do. Tim, I'm going to begin with you. Tell us, what is Unity?
Well, Unity is a, my partner, wife, and I, we have attempted to redefine what a headphone is and what it does. In previous, up until currently, headphones have been just a dumb device that you plug in and it has speakers up against your ears and you can listen to audio. The sound is so much more involved. People take it for granted because it's happening all the time and you can't shut your ears off, and so you kind of, your brain blocks things out, but you're constantly listening. So we were like, how can we make listening and hearing things more intelligent, more of like a two-way street? And so we developed the first headphone as a platform. So we built a headphone that has a processor and everything. We built a software platform on top of it, and we just wanted to create this device, a shell of a device that people who are doing really amazing things with audio and sensing and things like that, such as Olivier, have a vessel, a container in which to put their amazing technology on top of ours. And so we've loaded the headphones up with sensors. There's 12 microphones because we're constantly analyzing the ambient sounds around you to understand a little bit about environmental noise pollution and things like that. So there's a lot of things going on under the hood that is going to, we hope, influence and affect the way you hear the world around you. And not only that, because it's a wireless platform, our headline is we're the first wireless headphone that can stream high-resolution uncompressed audio. And that's just something that we could do with that. And then the last thing, because otherwise I could talk for 3 hours, a headphone has to sound good out of the box. I mean, if a headphone doesn't sound good, then what's the point, right? It has to sound the best. So we kind of built it from the ground up, and we designed it first and foremost. We based it around good acoustics, and then we built the electronics around it, and then the design and everything. But it started with good acoustics. So even if you plug it in directly, it'll sound great.
So audio as a platform,
yes.
Hardware from the ground up. That's pretty rare because it takes $1 billion company these days to build these things. There are only 4 or 5 companies that control most of the headphone market. We're going to come back to how you've done that over the last couple of years completely in stealth, which I think is one of the great stories of Unity. Professor Oullier, what is inclusive brains? I like to think I have an inclusive brain. Do I have an inclusive brain?
You do. Oh, you do. So I'm the co-founder with a brilliant young person called Paul Barbast of a company called Inclusive Brains. What we're looking at is a way to humanize the metaverse, humanize our relation to machines thanks to artificial intelligence. Sounds like a paradox to rely on algorithms in order to humanize the way we interact with machines. How does that work? We're creating closed-loop systems between us, humans, and the machines, so that the machines can sense how we feel in the moment. Are we stressed? Are we distracted? Are we fatigued? And in order to do so, first we started with brain-computer interfaces, meaning sensors that are recording your brain activity in real time. And thanks to machine and deep learning algorithms, we can pick up in real time whether you're stressed or distracted. But then we have created a digital twin of the brain. We've trained a network of algorithms with all the information we could get from all the sensor we could get. I'm a total geek when it comes to biometric sensors. Think about facial expressions, heartbeat, brain sensing, vocal stress analysis, body temperature, and so on and so forth. And we fed in controlled field and lab experiments the algorithms with this data. Then we set the algorithm free by allowing the digital twin to learn from the environment, from real life situations.
So it's an evolving algorithm.
Yeah, it's learning. It goes from being generic to, when it's uploaded to your phone, to your computer, learning from you and being able to help you. Finally, what is our goal is to be truly inclusive. So first, we started with brain-computer interfaces that empower people who have major sensory motor disabilities. Think about stroke, think about quadriplegia, to be able to study again, to be able to work again and join the workforce because they can control their computer with their brains, only with their brainwaves. Sounds like science fiction to a lot of you, I'm sure. For me, this is just neuroscience in action. Been doing this for more than 20 years. The challenge, and I will stop here, is how we scale this, how we make those brain-computer interfaces something that we're all going to use. Let me remind you that the remote you're using on your TV has been developed to help disabled people before it became a pervasive object that penetrated our daily lives. And we want to be the next remote control. We want to be the Siri for your brain.
Siri for your brain. It sounds a little bit about the longer-term ambitions for Unity as well, because you guys are building this headphone as a platform so that other apps, theoretically, this app could plug in to the hardware that you're developing. Is that right?
Absolutely. So, I mean, Stan mentioned a little bit about our story. We've been developing our headphones in stealth mode for the last 5-6 years, and we just launched officially and introduced ourselves to the world at South by Southwest. I think we're about to get some feedback here. We launched officially at South by Southwest, and since then, it's just been incredible the amount of response that we've gotten from potential partners such as Olivier here, and there are applications we realize that our headphone can do that we didn't even conceive of. You know, we put in
what
like
are some examples of that?
Well, okay, so we put in gyroscopes and accelerometers and 12 microphones because we want to analyze the environmental sound like I was talking about and things like that. And then we wanted to do true, not spatial audio, but immersive audio. And there's the only difference between spatial and immersive is that spatial, you get that, yeah, kind of like, everyone's heard binaural, right? And it's kind of gives you that, like you're in it. But as you turn your head, the whole world that you're listening to turns with it. Immersive, it stays stable when you turn your head, so you have some amount of correction. It's kind of like your VR glasses. When you turn, the world turns with you, and that's what makes it immersive. We're doing the same thing with sound. And
this is so important for our brains. I'm sure you all experienced being in a movie theater with Dolby Atmos or great sound systems, and because of the editing, a car that is coming from your left suddenly appears on your right, and the sound is jumping from one side to the other. And suddenly, your brain is not understanding what is happening, because the sound was here, the image was here. We're used to cuts and edits where there are big jumps, massive, clean-cut jumps at the visual level, but the auditory system is not trained yet. And what I really like, because I'm a total, as I said, I'm a total geek when it comes to biosensors, biometrics, but also I have,
Me too.
Yeah, I have a huge collection of headphones at home. I literally have a wall in my home studio where I produce music. And what you mentioned about first the acoustic. And if I may, I might add something about your product that I had the pleasure to test, comfort. Usability and comfort. The fact that we are keeping the devices on our head for hours. And a lot of devices, they hurt after a while. And the first thing as a user, as an audio geek, an audiophile, I loved the high quality sound that was just beamed to me via Wi-Fi. It's amazing. But second, it felt so natural that after a few seconds, for me, I was no longer wearing something. I was just walking around, and as you mentioned, Everything was adapting. The platform, the interaction, understanding the user, and not just delivering a fixed solution, but a solution that is adapting to us. The world, our interaction with everything, from the workplace to our homes, is about us adapting to the physical, the social, the digital environments, whereas it should be the other way around. The technology should adapt to us. Absolutely. And this is an amazing step. Congratulations to you and your team. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much, Olivier. There's 2 words for that, and it's called clamping force. And normally headphones have a big metal thing here, and it's pushing the ear cups up against your ears, and you get a lot of listener fatigue because you're getting a lot of pressure on your temple and this kind of top back part here. And what we've done since we were able to design it from the ground up is we distributed the weight evenly, so it doesn't feel heavy on your head. It weighs almost 400 grams, but it doesn't feel like that on your head because it kind of sits comfortably and is just cozy enough so it doesn't like slide off your head, and so it's clamping force that makes things like really uncomfortable after a while.
Tim, can we go a little bit farther into the product development cycle for this? Because it's really, really rare for a startup company to come from zero to something like that. And I find it amazing that you've been able to do it. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a teamwork. It was hard to find the team. We went through various iterations of actually the team to do it. We came up with what we called Unity A, which was like our first prototype. It was almost like a proof of concept. And the team, they wanted to release it, but we couldn't, it wasn't releasable. It didn't look anything like this. But it had the technology, it was working and stuff like that. But we needed to redesign it for it to be commercializable. So then what we did, well, our VP of product, Ken Randall, who's here, I mean, hats off to Ken because he really shepherded this thing from nothing to something. And without Ken, we probably would not be here. No, sorry, I'm putting you on. Any case, so the iteration, and also in stealth mode, it's difficult because you don't have that feedback from people, so you don't know if you're doing the right thing or not. You're working basically in a basement with no windows. And you
Especially
go
from a feedback standpoint.
From a feedback standpoint. And then what happens is you start to question yourself. Is this going to be good? I mean, are we wasting our time? Is this money out the window? Is this, you know what I mean? And
it's healthy. It's very healthy.
It's healthy, yeah, because you have to really kind of trust in your vision and trust in what you're doing is right. And plus, we always had the fear that someone was going to come out with it before us. And so I've had that pressure as well.
So, you know, Head, which is the company that makes Unity, is a Swiss company.
Yes.
And I know that you have done a lot of the design in Europe. But you've also had relationships around the world for production, but I understand that a lot of the future is really European in terms of this product.
We consider it a Swiss technology because our R&D team is in Plan-les-Ouates in Geneva. And they've been there for, you know, we've had the team for 6 years, and they're really knocking it out of the park. Yeah, we consider ourselves a Swiss company, and we're very proud to be a Swiss company. It's a really great environment to work in.
I think it's our first Swiss product review in the Ice House in 6 years.
About time.
Yeah, right. And it's great. We can invite these people in if they want to come in. Olivier, is Inclusive Brains really just APIs, or how does it go beyond that?
Just APIs? Come on, Stan.
I mean, APIs are everything. Okay, we all know APIs. Maybe some of us know APIs are everything. But seriously, like, you know, when you talk about this product and what it does, it sounds to me almost like it's an AI, or it could become an AI.
It is an AI. The digital twin of the brain. You upload it. You can upload it, and we're working with a company at the moment to bring the brain inside non-playing characters in video games.
Does that mean that my avatar would actually think and act like me?
No, but your avatar will be able to share the emotions you're experiencing, even without you having to click on something or do anything. It will be the ultimate connection between you and the machine with feedback. You give instructions, either in an active way, so it can be mental commands, it can be, you know, biosensors, your voice, whatever you want. But let's think about it. The future of any immersive device requires motionless and silent commands. You cannot be in a public environment and start speaking to your headset, whatever it is, or moving your arms, you know, just this way. So motionless and silent are the, you know, pre-requirements. but more important is closing the loop. When I'm interacting with you, Stan, I'm mind-guessing whether you're interested in what I'm saying or whether you're just being your polite, very polite self. Because
I'm always interested in what you say, Olivier.
I love you too.
Because I always learn something whenever we talk. I mean, this is the guy who had sensors attached to his head in the studio 5 years ago, and I got to see my brain waves for the first time, and it was like, is that all that's going on?
and I could say that you're beautiful inside out. But no, back to this, it's so important to close the loop. I'm trying to guess from your facial expressions, the tone of your voice. But imagine the virtual Stan, your avatar, you call it the way you want. How am I going to be sure that, you're frowning or you got this little grin? If not by having a digital twin of you, that is not just an algorithm thinking or working independently, but that is really connected to you all the time. And it's a challenge. It's not a challenge at the R&D level.
Is it reading electrical signals from the brain to transform
not only,
into
but
that?
Here is the next step. The next step is wearable-free neuroscience, sensorless. Why? Because as great as it is for a geek like me to walk around with brain sensors in a head, it's not always perceived as super cool. It should, but I'm very biased. I'm a scientist, I'm biased. Now, the point is, if a digital twin of a brain is trained with multiple, modalities, touch, sound, vision, facial expressions, vocal stress, etc., at some point, it will connect the way you type, the way you press your screen of your phone to how you feel in that moment. So when you no longer have a sensors, but you're pressing your tactile screen in a certain way, the digital twin will recognize the behavioral pattern and the association with brainwaves.
Oh, that's interesting.
Can I ask you a question, Olivier? Because this is interesting to me. I produce movies too. This is my day job. And they do a lot of mocap, motion capture, and then that's how they do Avatar and things like that. So it's analyzing the points in your face when you grin, and then the animation grins. So technically, you can take your technology and have it translate in real time to, say, an avatar in the metaverse, where your facial expressions and your mood and your maybe your eye movements and stuff like that can be kind of replicated in real time using your technology.
Absolutely, and because you're in the hardware business, the connected business, and the movie industry, you know also that real time is an illusion. There will always be lag. The virtual twin is doing predictive analytics, isn't anticipating from, slow, low-level signals to be able to anticipate what your expression is going to be, because the twin is your twin, knows you.
So this is taking us all to one place, and it starts with an M. The metaverse, right? So can you, Tim, walk us through your vision for a product like this in the metaverse? How is this going to help make the metaverse something that we don't want to get dragged into, but we want to actually run into?
I think one of the things that we wanted to do with the headphone, we called it restoring people's vision, which doesn't sound like the metaverse there, but we want everyone's embedded in their phones. They're not connecting with the world. They're not looking at people in their eyes when they talk and stuff like that. Everyone's always texting, going yeah, and stuff like that. We wanted to create a platform that restored people's vision for those who wanted to, but then it also gives you a way of, we call it audio or augmented reality and audio AR. And so what we want to do is place like an information layer, but in audio, so you don't have to be fishing in your phone. And that audio layer would be spatial, it would be directional, audio would come from places of interest that you want to know and things like that. But that has applications in the metaverse as well, because then you go, if you're doing a VR or an AR in a visual sense, we could be that audio component, because it's not really, everyone's gone forward with the visual aspect of the metaverse, but as always, it's like, hearing is, the runt of the senses. It's the one that's the least appreciated. It's always overlooked. It's taken for granted.
The runt of the senses. I've never heard that before.
I so agree. Come on. There are no museums where you can sit and just listen to high-fidelity audio.
Yeah.
People do not take enough time to listen.
Yeah, because it does take time, because you can't just see it all at once. It's not in parallel, it's in series.
And you also don't have a choice. It's a linear technology in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this is so interesting because I find the conversation around this evolving concept of the metaverse has been informing us inside of Hub Culture. So, we have the social network, we have Venn with payments, we have tokenization with Ultra, and we've started talking a lot within Hub about what I call DVLs, which are digital value layers. And Tim and I, we've talked about this. So it seems to me that what you guys are creating is the capability to access a new digital value layer. And I'd like to kind of bring the conversation into that. Maybe we'll go to you next, Olivier. Where do you see applications for this? Because this idea of a digital value layer is, I think of it like archaeology. We're building it. So our metaverse project is doing geolocated metaverse, Superworld app with Hirsch Lockhart, geolocated metaverse where they're selling essentially a virtual layer of the planet and mapping. This is taking it like on another dimension, another access into the way that we're using our senses. Where do you see the value layers getting built in this new area?
It's all about how you feel when you're immersed. At the end of the day, there are two choices. Do you want to build a metaverse that is just a digital, super high fidelity, immersive version of this world? Or do you want to go beyond that? And that's a question that we had in conversations 5 years ago about AI. Is AI just meant to reproduce what us humans do faster, better, you name it? Or just creates its own thing? Let me share with you something we've been doing. We've been working on understanding, very modestly, how Leonardo da Vinci paints. And first we started with algorithms that are known as, transferring the style of a painter so that you take a picture and suddenly it looks as painted in the style that was used for Mona Lisa. But that was not interesting for us. What was interesting for us is to try to understand how Leonardo was perceiving the emotions of a model that he was painting. So we created a digital twin that basically can paint like Leonardo, which a lot of people have done, except ours is coupled with the brainwaves of a model, can sense how the model is feeling when the computer is painting, and you got a true emotion that is a signature of that person. That's the value. It's being able to capture what we are in the moment. And when I say in the moment, this is the beauty of having algorithms, of having this almost real time. Because I'm not the same person pre this panel and after this panel. I'm not the same person on a Monday, especially in Davos, and on a Wednesday.
Yeah, we're all a shell of ourselves by Thursday. Tim, how is that working on your headphones? These digital value layers.
Well, the digital value layers, I was referring to him briefly about the audio augmented layer, which is kind of an audio
Is that what
DVL.
we call it? Is that what we're coining, the audio augmented layer? I like it.
Or we can call it an ADVL. It's an audio digital value layer, if you want to put it that way, too. But basically, it's like, the metaverse is great, but how cool would it be? Because, I mean, if you want to escape fully into the metaverse and delve into, a virtual world, that's one thing, but it kind of takes you out of play from the real world, right? I think that the metaverse would be incredibly useful is if you can layer it in real time over your world and have a choice as to what you hear or see and your points of interest, and the AI can learn what your interests are and things like that.
And that really merges with AR, with augmented reality.
Augmented reality. But the thing is, it's really important not to have augmented reality be a distraction. So I think that kind of the visual aspect of that interface needs to be probably honed a little bit. But the audio thing, people have been dealing with, you have security guards that have a little bug in there, you have reporters, they're getting audio feedback and stuff like that, and you can actually process this audio feedback without it taking your attention away from what you're doing in the world. People have been doing that for decades, you know. So we're approaching it from that.
Before we end this session, we're gonna just say getunity.com if you want to go and pre-order these and look at them. And they're also downstairs and right here. I think it would be really great if we could open up this conversation. I know we have some other people that are working on these types of audio solutions. Where's Josh? Yeah, so you guys are doing Boardroom One, kind of a cool new application. Can you tell us a little bit about it? I'll give you my mic because I'm so nice.
So the story was COVID had hit, and Mandela Foundation was getting ready to do the Mandela Mile, where everybody was going to go walk a mile, and could not do it. So Philip Rosendale over at Second Life started High Fidelity, and we were able to take people from 50 countries, put them on a map, have them walk around, and as they got closer to each other, it got louder, and as they walked away, it got more distant. And for the first time, everybody felt like they were back in a room together. And so it changed the entire dynamics. With us, we built ours with Adobe, and they started with a 3D spatial audio platform, didn't know what to do with it. And we came in and said, hey, let's put this in, and created kind of a white label solution of Clubhouse so that we could embed in professional organizations, newspapers, and drive traffic back to their site as opposed to pushing it out to different social media platforms. But the audio experience in Kenya, Ghana, South America is dramatic compared to the audio solutions we're using today.
So that's Boardroom One, white labeled audio that you can embed as is it an API? It's an API, great. Thank you. Any other questions about metaverse and audio and the kind of early evolution of this? Tyler, I know that you're working in this area a little bit.
How have you thought about latency?
Well, yeah, latency is a big issue, especially with immersive audio, because you have drift, you have latency issues and stuff like that, because you do. So because all the processing is being done on the headphone, and it's pretty task specific, what we're doing, we're using an ARM processor, so of course that, that works faster than standard desktop processors and things like that. We're partnering up with a company right now that's developed this codec that for spatial and immersive audio that has a drift correction that has the best drift correction in the business, and it's super low latency and everything. It's really, so far so good. The latency issue hasn't really been a problem for us. In a recording studio environment, if you're going to do the wireless thing, you would have to do like a specialized dongle, and there would be several milliseconds of that. But I mean, you can also plug it in directly as well, and the sensors will still perform, because what you have is, so the sensors communicate over BTLE to whatever the APIs work. That's how it transmits out. Over Wi-Fi, it does the data stream over Wi-Fi, which is fast.
What's going to be interesting is that there will be no latency on their product, but we will have latency on the virtual reality headsets. And you will have to slow down this Formula One so that it drives like those kind of everyday cars for a little while until they catch up. And what I really like is that you guys put everything on board. The motherboard is on the headset. Having been in the hardware business before and known all these problems of latency, as I mentioned earlier, the only way you can solve a problem is either to go the hardware route, the way they're doing, which is spectacular. And again, go and visit Ken downstairs and experience what I experience, or to do what we do, or which is to embed predictive analytics in the board so that it anticipates what is coming next and basically makes this latency disappear. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be, our brain is going to be messed up by these delays.
Yeah, our brains are very sensitive to latency. I mean, and sync issues. Video, audio sync, even if it's slightly off, drives you nuts. But it's interesting to talk about latency a little more, is because all the wonderful people that we've met over the last 2 months, we're in the middle of defining the hardware spec for our 2.0 right now. And all of this input is really helping us develop the next generation. And we're working in hand with these people to to really have a tailor-made hardware solution for their software. And so latency obviously is always a factor in there, so that's going to help a lot. And knowing, doing these things in tandem, the hardware and the software together is a very powerful connection. It's a very powerful relationship. You can get a lot done.
As I understand, there's a gigabyte of storage right there on the headphones, so you can actually take your whole audio library and it walks around with you.
Well, actually,
right there.
there's more. There's several gigs, but the thing is, there's going to be the next versions. We're going to be talking about gigabytes and terabytes in there because you why not?
So you basically have your entire Mac on your head, but hey, okay. Andrew.
Well, the Mac with motion sensors that knows a lot more than your Mac what you're doing.
Yeah, I mentioned it, Jake.
Have a mic?
Obviously, you position the headphone, your starting point is music. And obviously you talk about music, and on your website it's about music, but with the world going to mobile and the fact that we won't use computers, or the next generation won't be using computers, surely these are relevant to everything and every bit of our daily life. Obviously we have a business platform, but actually we've now realized it's called Boardroom One, but actually it's applicable to sports, it's applicable in the medical world, these is a product that can be used for everything. It's not just music, it's everything.
That's the importance of it being a platform, because it is adaptable, it's scalable, and it's tailor-made. I mean, we've had a lot of B2B conversations about having, use case specific headphones that may be reduced, in order to bring costs down, maybe not have all the bells and whistles for it to be like a multi-use product, but it can be tailor-made to perform one task, for example,
Can you give us like a day in the life of a Unity user a couple years out? Like once you get some apps into that system, what do you imagine the user experience to be like?
Well, I mean, one thing we haven't talked about is that we're trying to build a virtual voice assistant that really helps, that actually can really help, that you can have a conversation with, and it can remember your conversation. So if you forgot, like let's say, okay, a day in the life, you wake up and your headphones next to the bed. Okay, we're working on reducing the size to make it more portable and everything. This is our first thing out, but like a couple of years from now, size is reduced, maybe a true wireless, who knows. But say you put them on, and it's like putting on sunglasses for your ears. You put them on, and all of a sudden it's like you have the ambient audio around you. It knows what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear. So all of a sudden it's like the baby crying or the dog barking or the truck.
Wait, so this is going to solve my economy class airplane problem?
Absolutely.
That's good. And wait until
I mean, I don't get to fly business class like everybody else at Davos, so the screaming baby problem is a real problem for me. So if this solves the screaming baby problem, I'm in.
Snoring, things like that. And so we have this function that we call aware, and what it's doing is it's constantly analyzing the sound waves around you for voice that's coming in your direction. There's various ways that you can, with beamforming and things like that, you can tell which direction the voice, human voice, is coming from. It can listen for a keyword of your name, like Tim, and then all of a sudden if you're listening to music, it pipes through what you're hearing around you, beamformed from where that voice is coming from, and just passes it through the audio, and you can hear it.
So I can basically like whitelist people I like.
Yeah, but wait.
Exactly.
Imagine when you're going to upload an inclusive brain digital twin in that device, you will be able to do one thing with you, which is to listen to smiles. Because we can hear smiles on the phone. This is a lesson that comes from the 70s from call centers, and we modeled that. And in the interaction you were mentioning, having your assistant that knows that you're smiling, not because there are some muscular sensors on their face, but just because there is an audio signature to a smile, is going to change entirely the way you interact with your vocal assistant.
Of course, there's an audio signature to that because the smile changes the shape of your mouth, which changes the form of the sound comes through your voice box and comes out, and you can,
It's really amazing, and this is really cool. So I love Davos because, Davos is about kind of coming together and figuring out where the next conversation is going. And I do feel like audio is somehow right at the heart of the new that I'm hearing. And so last night at dinner, I was sitting next to a guy who's big in decentralization, and another guy who's big in crypto. And they were talking to another person who's in music, some story like that. It wasn't exactly that. But basically what they were talking about, because I was kind of eavesdropping, was something that blew my mind. Because they were basically talking about audio, what they were calling it the financialization of audio. So because audio can be digitized, and we're really close now with Polygon for rapidly scaling blockchain capabilities, that suddenly anything will be able to exist. Like we just did our NFTs. Like we dropped an amazing group with From Dust, which is our Burning Man music collective, through Zeek.ai, 460 NFTs on Polygon, but they're musical NFTs. The music is on the blockchain. But they're saying now that sounds, words, are going to become financialized. So we're going to actually see the financialization of sound on the blockchain, where if you have an NFT, imagine an NFT that's only a sound, that has value.
How do you establish ownership of that?
It depends on who mints it, right?
And I don't know if I
You guys
agree.
have another 3 hours because we're going to dive into the legal aspects and ownership and copyrights.
But this is it. Like if I said, if I could mint hello onto the chain, and I own that NFT, I can then sell that NFT or whatever. It may not exactly be an NFT, but the financialization of sound is coming really fast. I never heard of it until last night, and I was like, whoa, because that's massive. Like we're deep in that with Van and Ultra assets, right? We're tokenizing our property in Hawaii. We're tokenizing trees. Why can't we tokenize sound? So when you take that to the metaverse, the idea of truly $1 trillion opportunity for the financialization of sounds, like right now we're buying virtual couches, but what if I want to buy a French hello from a professor from the south of France?
Hello, handsome guy. How are you?
Let's take it back to the audience. Any questions? Nicole, I know you've got something to say.
Yeah, I figured we need a woman's voice in here. No offense, you guys are funny. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Nicole Patrice DeMember. I was the managing owner of Effigy Studios, which is now owned and managed by Dr. Dre, Eminem, and 50 Cent. We have an API Legacy Plus board in there. It's over $1 million. How is the recording going to be? What's going to have to be different? Is there components that need to be added? Are you working with any SSL or any of the boards for this? As you know from film and the cameras and HD, it got pretty pricey pretty quick.
Yeah.
So that's where my concern is.
Well, to answer that, thanks for your question, Nicole, and I agree about having more women. You can never have too many. I have 5 daughters, so I know what I'm talking about. So artists work extremely hard in the studio just to craft the perfect sound, the little subtle thing. We've all been in recording studios. No, the musicians, and some of you have been in recording studios, and we spend hours there, laboring over one sound, and then it goes, you get it gets mastered and everything, and then it gets disseminated to the streaming services, and then what you spent hours on doesn't exist anymore because it's been compressed out of existence.
And played through the speaker of your phone, which is it's
right.
depressing.
So basically, you've kind of lost control of your art, your passion, the thing that you've left your blood, sweat, and tears and time and sanity on, right? And then no one ever hears it the way you wanted them to hear it. And that's tragic as far as I'm concerned.
It's tragic, but I don't think Picasso would mind the fact that some kids are discovering Guernica on their phones without having the massive, the grain, etc.
Yeah, I agreed. But here, for the first time, what we can do is the artist, and I've spoken with many artists about this, and I say to them, exactly, because first of all, this is portable, so you can, and now musicians more than ever are composing and producing music on their computers in the headphones, and they're mixing wherever they happen to be, on a plane, on the beach, whatever. And so for the first time, I can tell them, I said, we can guarantee that exactly the way it sounds in your headphones and releasing it, your fan, the end user of your art, will hear it exactly the way it will be reproduced exactly, because there's no compression. There's, it's lossless. And it's kind of a direct link, although it's wireless. It's direct from the production to the.
So this brings you much closer to the artist.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure we can upload a couple of plugins to have valve amps and things like that to get more warmth. And for the audiophile, this is going to be amazing, because you'll be able to customize with the headphones the system you would have as an audiophile or someone who listens on a phone, which I think is literally depressing. But yeah. I'm old enough to be depressed by these kind of things. This is you're giving people the choice of super high quality or discovering what the artist really wanted. And back to the analogy with Picasso, you're providing at the audio level the opportunity to sit next or to be next to the master while he or she has finished painting. And that's amazing.
And then that's one aspect of it too, because then you have the two-way street aspect of it as well, because it is a two-way communications device. And let's say that you have, let's say an artist, like there's an artist that we love in our group. His name is Fred again. And what he does is you should absolutely check this out because he's amazing. He takes like little sound bites of his friends talking in videos that they've made, and he builds a song around it. And so that really humanizes the whole experience. And now he's in the middle of producing his third, it's called Actual Life 3, and he's inviting his fans to give him sound bites. And it's a very inclusive way of building music. It's very emotional. I get goosebumps just thinking about him. Fred again. And he's a London-based producer. He produced for Ed Sheeran and things like that, but now he's gone off on his own. He's truly a genius. But what I'm saying about that is it can be a two-way street. Let's say that Fred again wants to produce a song, and he can be in real time with his fans and having a two-way street conversation or something like that. So the possibilities are pretty much endless, because the thing is, the point of building a platform is I can't think about everything. We can't imagine what everyone's thinking. But people find a tool and they'll find uses for it. And it's happening. It happened like right out of the gate.
Technology is allowing for the art or the use to happen. Vivaldi would not have composed without a certain kind of violin. This does not come from me. This is an analogy that Jean-Michel Jarre, the famous electronic music composer and futurist, always gives. It's because there is the canvas that you're able to paint. So with technology, we're bringing new ways for artists to express themselves. In our case, brain-computer interfaces, we're connecting directly the brain of the artist to the canvas, to a synthesizer, to an instrument. And for the first time in centuries, offering a new channel for artists to express themselves, adding a new layer, creating immersive and creative and generative art. And finally, I think it's super important on both ends of a spectrum. The listener, the viewer, the consumer, and the producer, the artist, so that there is no loss along the chain of transmission of the art.
So we're going to wrap here in a minute so we can all talk. But I want to end this on a big thought. I mean, Tim and I go to Burning Man together. We're both building companies that I think are ultimately focused on consciousness and expanding consciousness. My favorite thing at Burning Man lately is I'm trying to turn Tutu Tuesday into Telepathic Tuesday. And it sounds like what you guys are building are the first tools for telepathy, because what I'm hearing is a connected platform. What I'm hearing is the granularization of sound. What I'm hearing is the identity model framework for sound, and the ability for the thought to become code. So if we link all those things together, don't we get telepathy?
Well, maybe I can, if you don't mind. Telepathy, yes, but I see it more as enhanced communication. I see it because I think most of the problems in the world today stem from not understanding each other, whether it's a language barrier or whether someone has a prefixed idea or whatever. There's a lot of communication which is lost. Words are mangled, sound bites are taken out of context, and things like that. With like what Olivier is doing with getting that intent in the words. Everyone knows, everyone's typed a text message and it lands wrong with the other person. It's like, oh no, because you lose your emotion in the text message. We actually are having that with our common everyday speech with each other. And I think
banana. Sorry, we have a code. Yeah, we have a code in Hub. Like if the other person doesn't like the way you're communicating, we say banana. That's why we get away with being so nice, because we just look at each other and go, banana.
But this is great, because what we want to do is we want to clear the static and all the interference that hinders communication.
Exactly. As I mentioned, we're going to be able to listen to what the artist heard in studio or create in the studio with what you're doing. People are going to see you in the metaverse on the other side of the planet without lag, without your eyes watching the camera instead of watching in front of you. I mean, we all relate to that in our Zoom calls and things like that. Finally, just trying to be as loyal, faithful, perfectly transmitting your emotions, or being able not to share them. And of course, to enhance them, to hide them, but you're offering people more choices, which ultimately, I think being rich is having more choices.
I agree. I love Davos. It's such a creation place. If you leave with nothing else, when you don't like the way somebody's talking to you, just say banana. And if you love the feeling that they just gave you, like a little, like right now, this is total strawberry, right here. Okay, I think, does Nianta have a question? Okay, let me hear this. You got the last word, and then we really need to mingle for a few minutes before we break. Nianta Spellman, Saving the Rainforests.
So I have that question for Tim, because we're talking about sounds and music from artists. But what about natural sounds from our rainforest? Connecting people, bringing it to them where they are. And Tim and I have spoken about this. So will you talk a little bit about that before you send us off?
I had the absolute pleasure of meeting you at South by Southwest.
I love that we're ending this on, I want to talk to trees.
No, but no, literally, Nathan and I, we met at South by Southwest, and we had an immediate connection, because it's true, the sounds of the rainforest is, I've never been there. I've heard sounds, and I'd love to really be there, but I've heard two-dimensional sounds of it, and that's great. That's like watching TV, and but what we talked about is doing a fully immersive thing where you have an audio capture device that is capturing in 360 degrees and live streaming it to a spatial audio. We'll get back to spatial audio now. A spatial audio headset where you're actually immersive. So it's not like the sounds are following you like that. The bird that's chirping over here, you turn your head and the bird is still chirping over here. And there, if you close your eyes, you really can be transported. It probably would help is if you're in the bathroom and you have a really hot shower going, so you get the steam and the heat and the humidity and everything, but to enhance the experience.
You can have a feel of what you said. I don't know if you know the famous photographer Sebastiano Salgado. His latest expo, Amazonia, which is soundtracked by Jean-Michel Jarre in binaural with anthropologic sound that he collected. And on this sound system must be a crazy experience. But yeah, Salgado's Amazonia and the music that was composed by Jarre would be the perfect illustration to your point.
Yeah, and I'll take this one step further. Lillian and I would love to come to the rainforest and when you're there, and to really experience it, so that we can maybe start just playing around with that idea, because I think it's really powerful. Calm, Headspace, Endel, and all these companies that are doing really great mindfulness and sound for relaxation and to reconnect it. But the thing is, most importantly, I think if you're listening to those sounds and you're really immersed and you close your eyes and you can be there, you'll feel much more involved and invested in saving it, because it evokes these deep emotions in you. You really feel connected to it.
Wait, it's the moment where we have wishes. I'm DJing tonight. I want to give these guys a spin while I DJ.
I was supposed to give you a DJ plug.
Absolutely.
I want to try them tonight while I DJ. So do we have a deal?
Absolutely.
Okay, we sound good.
Absolutely.
All right, yeah. DJs for good, no less.
Well, yeah, so that's the last thing. I DJ for companies here in Davos and around the world, and because I got a business on the side, all the proceeds and the benefits from the DJ sets, they go to charities, and we support charities, and it's an organization, DJs for Good, that has received support from Hub Culture from day one. So thank you again,
We
Stan.
love DJs for good. Okay, audio for good. Thank you guys. You get
Thank you so
exactly
much.
7
Thanks, guys.
minutes. I'm giving you 7 minutes to mingle, and then we have like the entire Saudi delegation. So we don't want to be late for them. Enjoy yourselves. Thanks so much, guys. What an inspiring project, and I'm just so proud of you, Tim. I fucking love you, man. Signing off from the live stream.